This video will improve your life. Hello my friends, how are you doing? I don't know if a lot of people will watch this video, but I still want to do it because I know it will help a lot of people out there. Now this is about using AI to be your therapist, to be your professor, to help you with everyday things in your life and improve your life quality. Now the main problem here is a lot of people out there, for example, most people I met in my life have problems that need therapy, but I don't go to a therapist because they are shy about it, because they can't afford it, because there's no therapist near their location, and they will live with these problems for all of their lives. Another problem out there is that higher education, universities, the access to quality teachers is limited, is expensive, and still you also need to be at the right location. So again, I know a lot of people who would have the skill, the intelligence, the interest to study subjects, but they just can't because they are limited by their life conditions. And AI can change that. So today, I want to talk about how to use ChatGPT for these purposes to help you and improve you. I tried it out in 2 different scenarios, as a session with a therapist, as a conversation with a professor. I was really surprised by the results, but I also want to give you some advice on how to get better results in that process. So here is how I set up this role play. In my first message to the chatbot, I write, "Hello, I would like to do a role play with you. You are my art professor named Professor Boyce, and I'm your student. I want to study conceptual art. I'm very interested in cultures and interactions between people. I'm also interested in the question of what makes us human and why people are so passionate about their respective cultures, but also so bound to them. Let's start the class where you advise, question, and teach me." So this sets up the scenario between a professor and me as the student, but it also tells the AI what topics I want to focus on and what expectations I have towards the AI. Now, it's really important in the next step for the answer you get that the first reply you get is in a role play sense, because otherwise you're still kind of in that normal ChatGPT mode. I will talk about in a second what I mean by that. So here's the answer I got from that. "Hello and welcome to our class on conceptual art. I'm Professor Boyce and I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. It's great to hear that you're interested in exploring the culture and interpersonal dimensions of art, as well as the questions of what it means to be human." And then it goes on to talk about conceptual art in the context that I specified before. Now, this is a really great start because you have to keep in mind that this is still just an AI and it doesn't have the context, it doesn't have the life experience on what is going on. But more importantly, ChatGPT is built in a way where it is receiving from you. So usually you send a question to the AI and then it gives you an answer, and that is this kind of dynamic on which it is built. But it isn't proactive. It doesn't reach out to you to make you suggestions and to pull the conversation forward or to lead the conversation. So that means you have to take this part. Even though you're the student in that situation, you have to move the conversation. So it will often happen that the AI kind of goes into a loop or starts to be very shallow about the information it tries to give you. In that moment, you have to push the AI a little bit by saying, for example, ask me more questions about my interest, or give me more advice about that, or give me a better analysis about what I just said. Think about what I said and give me a better response for that so that the conversation can go on. So in my next message, as you can see here, I'm writing a long input where I define what I'm struggling with. In that case, to find a good form and to find an expression for the works I want to do. I'm struggling because my works are often very minimal and I feel like that might be too small. Then I describe one of my works. In this case, this is about a piece of paper white piece that is not marked with anything the artist hasn't started yet. And if you're an artist, you know that this can be a big struggle to get started because this piece of paper is still full with potential. It's a universe of possibilities. Now, when you make that first mark, no matter how small it is, this is then a reference point. That means in the way our brain works, in the way we as human works, with our logic, with our habits, our tradition, our psychology, everything that follows after that first mark is in relation to that. That means you're bound to that mark. It's like this mark has massive power over you. Now, this might seem like an insignificant moment, but it changes from a universe of possibilities down to reacting to that mark. And that is very significant. Now, the beautiful thing here is that the AI gave me a really good answer to that. Now, this again is based because I created a lot of context. I say what I struggle with, I explain in detail my work and what I want to achieve with that work, what my interest is in that work. So because I say I struggle with my form, with my expression, the first thing the AI is saying is actually a great example on how to use minimalism, on how to experiment with concepts in art. And that, of course, is reassuring for me. It's a very positive and nice feedback. But after that, it also comes at me with interesting suggestions. For example, it says, think about how you can use other simple forms or actions to explore similar themes. But it also challenges me by saying, consider the role of chance and randomness in your work. This is something I've never thought about because for me, it always was the artist making by conscious decision that mark on the paper and changing that paper forever. But of course, if this is a random act, if there is something dropping onto that paper that also creates a mark, that has a different impact and it is another challenging question. So that's actually really great. At that point, you can already see that GPT is not leading the conversation. It doesn't give me anything to react to. So I have to push the conversation forward. So in my next message, I'm writing, those are really great ideas. What artists could I study related to my work about the mark and the suggestions you made? So to take all of that, what the AI said and what I said into consideration to build a list. So here, it gives me several ideas, several names of artists that are related to that. But more importantly, and this is really a very important process when you study a subject, when you have a teacher, to get suggestions, but also why these are suggestions that matter to you. So here in the list of artists it suggests, it says, for example, Agnes Martin, and it defines Martin was a minimal painter known for her use of grit and lines. Her work often explores the themes of simplicity, spirituality, and relationship between the individual and the natural world. So as a student, because you don't know the artist, you need to have a guidance of what specific aspects of that artist and the work of that artist you should study. And this is provided here also with these other names. Another very important part here of that list, and this is another really important about studying subjects, is that you get a lot of new, different, interesting concepts. So in this case, even with just the first example, it brings here up the topic of spirituality. And of course, this also has to do with my original subject if you want to expand it in that way. So that is really interesting. And also, it brings up here the relationship between the individual and the natural world. So you have to bring a bit of understanding with you on how learning works, especially understanding artistic, philosophical concepts. This is also interesting for the therapy, that you are able to read a little bit between the lines and have an understanding about that kind of learning and growing process, because this is a very integral part, especially about art and culture, that you learn from the old masters, but also understand what they want to achieve. And then you can question that, you can probe that, and then build upon that. Again, the AI is just providing me with the information I asked for, but it is not deepening the conversation. And this is very crucial in the relation between a teacher and the student, that you as a student don't really know what kind of questions to ask, how to probe your own interests so that you can grow the understanding. So you have to push the AI. So I wrote, "Thank you. Let's go on with our conversation by asking me more questions." Here the AI writes, "Sure, I'd love to ask you more questions. Can you tell me a bit more about your interest in cultures and interactions between people? How do you think this relates to your interest in conceptual art and the first mark or gesture? Do you have any specific cultures or interactions that you are particularly interested in exploring through your art?" These are actually really great questions, because this is probing my understanding on what do I actually want to explore. Is it about a culture? Is it about a specific habit that is happening here, a specific action I want to explore? Or is there a greater concept in my work that I want to explore with my artistic process? So in the next message I send to the AI, again, I write a long text. This time I describe two different ideas. Now you can read that through if you want to, but to keep it short, one is about the different cutlery that we use in Europe and in Asia. And because we use knife and fork, we have different food items than you would eat with a chopstick, but this also gives you a very different food culture and a very different eating experience. The other one is about the pavement out in the public and how this at the same time is a fundament for how vital, active, and alive our culture is, but at the same time also how this culture is degrading because of all the footmarks, of all the decay of the pavement, of the bubble gum that is stuck there, and other dirt that you find there. So this combination of both things happening at the same time can be really interesting. And again, the AI is providing a really interesting answer. For example, here it is talking about highlighting the beauty of decay and impermanence in everyday objects. Now, what I like about this conversation as it is ongoing, as you provide more information, is that this can really filter out what your work is focusing on. Because sometimes you don't see the forest because of all the trees. There's just too much happening in your life, so you don't really understand what your work is about. But with the conversation, I quickly found there is a focus that my work is about, and the AI can provide examples and insights. Now, the message the AI has provided here, I found a little bit shallow, but of course, with more questions, you can deepen that understanding and you can bring the AI to give you better insights. In my next example, I role-played between a therapist and a patient. Now, I'm really surprised by the quality of the answers, how they are to the point, how they are helpful, how they give me good examples on how to think about my situation, but also how to find solutions to better my situation. And that was absolutely amazing. Now, one thing I absolutely want to emphasize here is this does not replace a real therapist session. So if you have deeper sitting problems, if you're really struggling in your life, go to an actual therapist. But this can still be a good start, because at least it provides you with some insights, it provides you with some understanding, and it suggests to use some simple methods to alleviate that pain and help you with the situation at least a little bit. Again, I started by setting up the role play, and then I provided as much information as possible and also context to that situation, and I got really interesting answers here. So one of the things that I say to the AI is, I have a problem in real life that because I am interested in so many different topics, because I'm studying so many different things at the same time, it leads to a disappointment, because I feel that I am always forgetting the information I learned. I always forget the skill that I trained because I'm then interested into another topic. So the skill goes away, the information goes away, the knowledge goes away. And at some point you think, why try at all? Why keep learning? Why keep investing all that work when everything goes away after that? And the interesting thing here is the AI says, well, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's also part of human nature because we forget, and the skill that we don't train goes away. It's just who we are and how things work for us. But it also said, why focus on this end result? Why does it have to be that you have learned something, that you are mastering something? Why not instead think about enjoying the process and having the most fun by exploring, by finding something new, by the joy of doing it for the first time right? Maybe you do it wrong for the second time, maybe you forget the information. Does it really matter? Or why not try to focus on enjoying the moment and this journey of exploration? And that's actually a great idea. And that's actually a great insight because it pulls away all this pressure of needing to know, needing to be good at something, and saying, well, you can just be who you are and have fun with your exploration. I really like that idea, and I will try in the future to see my life and see the things that I'm doing in that light. So that was absolutely helpful. And I had more conversations, of course, with the AI about different other problems. And every single time it provided good insight and good solutions for that. But one thing, of course, that an AI can't do, that a real therapist provides, is the AI doesn't have the experience, it doesn't have the empathy, it doesn't have the human connection to you, and also the strategies and concepts to go deeper into analyzing your problems and deeper into understanding your feelings and how to work with these feelings over time. So that is something that is lacking. But I feel also from own experience that even with a real therapist, a lot of the things that you need to do to find a solution for your problems is working it out with yourself by just thinking about the situations, by thinking about your problems, thinking about your situation, trying to find new solutions. Now, the therapist provides inputs and hints for that to push you in the right direction, but still you have to figure it out. And from that, I feel like what the AI is doing is actually pretty good. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Leave a like and see you tomorrow in my live stream where I'm building my PC live with you. Thank you and see you soon. Bye. Oh, you're still here. So this is the end screen. There's other stuff you can watch like this or that. It's really cool. And yeah, I hope I see you soon. Leave a like if you haven't yet. And well, yeah, I wish you a good weekend.